JJ3K here. I have a lot of favorite bands. Some people have one favorite band. A lot of people have a lot of favorite bands. Top 10 lists, top 25 lists. Favorite bands from different stages of your life, different times in your life. The old cliche that, there is a soundtrack to your life. Um, literally uh, defined in music. What was playing on the radio throughout different periods of your life. Um, and sometimes bands can kind of hit you kind of late in life. And for me, one of those bands was Kraftwerk. Uh, is Kraftwerk. And unfortunately, one of the founding members, Florian Schneider, passed away today. Um, Talking about, entering my life late, I've always been a fan of music, always been an amateur musician, mostly guitar, until a few years ago. I really got into, you know, tinkering around with electronic music. Um, and then I remember, just a couple years ago, being in a little record store in a, kind of a flea market, and I came across this record. Never heard of Kraftwerk, um, but it looked interesting. It seemed interesting. It was an electronic album from 1974, so I was definitely intrigued. As I said before, I was kind of getting into electronic music. Got a MIDI keyboard, couple keyboards, a drum pad machine, and um, you know m- made a lot of instrumentals with that. But going back to Kraftwerk, listening to this album, um, you know, uh, it was like hearing something that I didn't realize I've always heard. And then further investigation into the band, I found that they've been sampled, from Africa Bambaataa to Coldplay. Their melodies, throughout the past couple decades or few decades, have been heard in numerous genres of music. Um, they get nominated, or they're on a list of names for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame quite often, a few times. I don't know exactly how many, like six or something, as recently as last year, and they never get in. They really deserve it. But back to the fact that unfortunately, Florian Schneider passed away. This group, once again, late to the party. Got Autobahn, Computer World, and American Copy Man Machine. I am a huge fan. I can't think of a single group that has been so instrumental in the music that I make. So much so that I actually made a fictional group called Random Objects with a K, that was based on the four members of Kraftwerk, and made a few songs, a few electronic songs, and made videos for those songs. I'll post the links below. So much of an inspiration that I basically kind of ripped them off for a few songs. Um, Great inspiration to me as far as my amateur crappy music that I make. Actually, I'd have to say the first song that I've ever made with any kind of vocals was a complete rip off of the robots off of the Man Machine. Um, Even the video, directly inspired heavily. I'll post a link to that one below. Check it out. Once again, it's a sad day. You know, I'm sorry I never got to see him live. By the time I became a fan, like Florian had already been out of the band for about 10 years. But the whole group's contributions to electronic music, inventing their own instruments. Florian himself played a really neat drum machine that basically the sticks were on wires and hitting the pads would connect the circuit and with the different drum voices, which was really innovative. And his contribution to the world of electronic music and music in general, will be appreciated, he'll be sorely missed. But yeah, rock on.